Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we should be live. And there we are. How are all of you doing? I hope you guys are very, very well. Happy Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Making Sense of South Africa podcast. It's been an interesting couple of days, has it not? It's been an interesting couple of days. There's been a lot of stuff happening here in South Africa, particularly around name changes. And uh, really, this is nothing new. It's not the first time that we've seen name changes happen. But what is interesting is that for the first time ever, we can see the spirit in which the names are being changed. In the past, we all thought that this was just what the government was doing, right? This was just what the ANC was doing. Now we have the benefit of social media. And when you go on social media, you see a lot of hatred, a lot of anger. And I want to talk about a little bit of that today and hopefully give someone watching this that might find themselves in this gleeful, happy mood of, oh, yeah, we're showing these Afrikaners. I maybe want to speak to you very particularly in this podcast. Before we get going, though, CR, how you doing? Stained, how you doing? Michael, how you doing? Boshy, how you doing? Slow-mo, how you doing? Rex, how you doing, sir? Welcome, welcome, welcome to each and every one of you. I truly hope that your day has been well. I hope that you have had as good a day as I have. It's been interesting. I've been busy with a lot of stuff. But there's one specific thing. Raymond, how you doing, sir? There's one specific thing that popped up yesterday. So last night, I went to go watch the Super Bowl final with a friend of mine here in South Africa who was in America for about 8 years. And he also fell in love with football, American football, that is, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about. The Super Bowl is their World Cup. It happens once a year. It's a massive sporting event. And my team lost, just crazily lost. It was a very bad game for us. But nevertheless, I get home at around 9:30, maybe 10 o'clock. And I'm sitting downstairs on the couch and I'm tired. Right. So I think to myself, okay, I'm not going to do Bible study tonight. I'll do Bible study tomorrow morning. I'm a little bit tired. And for some reason, this thought just, pops into my head that just says, you know what, just read at least one passage. You have the Bible app on your phone. You may as well just quickly read a passage and then you can pray and you can go to bed. So I'm like, okay, fine. I'll just quickly read a passage. I'm busy working my way through Chronicles. So why not? I know where we are, so let's do this. We are live. Gert, we are live. Okay, so I open my Bible app, and my Bible app has on the front page, I never even look at the front page. I usually just click on the Bible app, it opens in the Home tab, and I immediately click on Bible so that I can read my Bible. But for some reason last night, I opened my app, and the verse of the day is Psalm 94. Now, Psalms, or most of the Psalms at least, are written by King David. King David lived roughly 3,000 years ago. He ruled Israel for roughly 40 years. A lot of his life was actually spent on the run, running away from Saul. And, once he became king, he was actually described as one of the few men in the Old Testament as righteous kings. Kings that followed God, which is sort of crazy. And this is just as an aside. And I promise this is going to make sense for South Africa. What I'm about to read you guys is one of his letters, one of his psalms that he wrote, a prayer. But I'll get to that. One of the interesting things about David is the Bible over and over again describes David as did I say 2,000, Nicholas? I mean 3,000. It's about 3,000 years ago, give or take 100 years here or there, right? But the Bible over and over again, God describes David as a righteous king, one of the only righteous kings. So if you read through kings in the Old Testament, you'll get Asa, and then it'll say, and Asa did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, like there's another king, Jeroboam, I believe he's called, not like David, who was a righteous king. And I kept thinking, but Lord, this doesn't make sense. If we think of David's life, if we think at who David was, David had such a problem with lust that he had a man sent to the front lines of war to be killed so that he could marry and sleep with his wife. That's King David. How can David be described as a righteous man? Like, that makes no sense. And as you read through it, you start to understand. Yes, David had a lot of sins, and David struggled with a lot of those sins. But every single time David was called out for his sins, the first thing he did was repent and turn back to the Lord. He never worshipped other gods. He never worshipped false gods. He never allowed Israel to worship false gods. He stuck to the Lord. He built temples for the Lord. He didn't build the temple, but he built altars and places where they could sacrifice and worship for the Lord. So that's sort of David's story, just in a nutshell. Now, David wrote many, many psalms, and a lot of those psalms are used in movies. A lot of the movies that you watch have lines and passages from psalms that just sound beautiful and people love. There are famous songs written about the psalms that aren't just sung in church. It's just songs that people find beautiful. But in psalms, there are a handful of psalms known as imprecatory psalms. Now, imprecatory psalms are psalms where David asked the Lord directly to take vengeance upon his enemies. This is a prayer from David to the Lord, asking him to punish the enemies of Israel and the enemies of David. Listen to this. This is from Psalm 94. I want you to listen to this because as I read through it, David may as well have been speaking about South Africa here. O Lord, God of vengeance, O God of vengeance, shine forth. Rise up, O Judge of the earth. Repay to the proud what they deserve. O Lord, how long shall the wicked exult? They pour out their arrogant words, all the evildoers boast. They crush your people, O Lord, and afflict your heritage. They kill the widow and the sojourner, and murder the fatherless. And they say, the Lord does not see, the God of Jacob does not perceive. Understand, O dullest of the people. Fools, when will you be wise? He who planted the ear, does he not hear? He who formed the eye, does he not see? He who disciplines the nations, does he not rebuke? He who teaches man knowledge. The Lord knows the thoughts of man, that they are but a breath. Blessed is the man whom you discipline, O Lord, and whom you teach out of your law, to give him rest from the days of trouble, until a pit is dug for the wicked. For the Lord will not forsake his people. He will not abandon his heritage. For justice will return to the righteous, and all the upright in heart will follow it. Who rises up for me against the wicked? Who stands up for me against evildoers? If the Lord had not been my help, my soul would have soon have lived in the land of silence. When I thought my foot slips, your steadfast love, O Lord, held me up. When the cares of my heart are many, your consolations cheer my soul. Can wicked rulers be allied with you? Those who frame injustice by statute. That may as well be the ANC, just FYI. Those who frame injustice by statute. In other words, they're making laws and statutes that are by their very nature injustice, but they frame it as a law. This is just law. They band together against the life of the righteous and condemn the innocent to death. But the Lord has become my stronghold, and my God the rock of my refuge. He will bring back on them their iniquity and wipe them out for their wickedness. The Lord our God will wipe them out. This was a passage that I accidentally stumbled upon. I am still working my way through Kings. I am many books away from Psalms, and this was the passage last night. And this passage has been haunting me the entire time. And as you read it, as you listen to the words of David, you can feel the frustration that David is experiencing in that moment. This is a frustration that we all here in South Africa deal with every single day. How often is the injustices of our government passed off as laws? We're told that there is no persecution in South Africa of Afrikaners and white people because it's redress laws. But the laws themselves is the injustice. The laws themselves visit the injustice upon the innocent. People who are not perpetuating any sort of murder or, evil doing towards the majority of South Africans. If you go across this country and you look at the people, the Afrikaner people of this country, what injustice are we visiting upon anyone? We are not stealing their land. We are not stealing their farms. We are not stealing their food. We are not stealing their money. We are not destroying their infrastructure. We are not destroying their countries or their country. We are not destroying their homelands. We don't go into Soweto and just, blow everything up. We do nothing to them. And yet we are punished consistently for the things that was done by people that lived long before us. People that we are not a part of, that have nothing to do with us, and yet we are paying that inequity every single day as if we are the ones who is visiting it upon them. And of course, when you actually look at the suffering and the struggles that is visited upon today, if you actually look at the suffering in South Africa today, who is actually causing the suffering in South Africa? Is it us? Is it the white people in South Africa that is bringing the majority of suffering upon the land? Are we the ones who is in control of the economic system in South Africa? No. Are we the ones who is in control of the business environment in South Africa? No. Are we the ones in control of education in South Africa? No. Are we the ones in control of international relationships and international trade with South Africa? No. We are in control of nothing and yet blamed for everything. This is where David asks, can wicked rulers be aligned with you? Is it possible to have Cyril Ramaphosa be aligned with God? And the answer is no. God sees his inequities and his injustices, and God will in due time visit those inequities and injustices to him. For us, we have the hard task of loving our enemies. And trust me, I know how much I fail at that every single day. By now, I get the impression that most national leaders are wicked. It seems to be a requirement to join the club. Plato had something similar to say, where he said democracy does not reward the most capable. Democracy rewards the best liars. And this is why Plato said democracy can never actually work, because democracy rewards the best liar, not the most capable leader. ANC is the opposite of God's word. True. But I want to show you guys just some of the genuine wickedness with which we deal in this country every single day. Now, I made a video on this earlier today, the Graafrenet issue, the issue of the name change that is now happening in South Africa. Now, name changes, as I said, is nothing new. I used to live in Pietersburg, and overnight I lived in Polokwane. Pietersburg actually has a reason for the name, right? It's named after the founders. There's an actual historical fact. Polokwane is just a funny word as far as I'm concerned. It means nothing to me. But fundamentally, that is exactly what happened. Pretty much every single town in the entirety of Limpopo was changed to some other name because they don't like the names that we have. And now they've stepped up and they decided that they're also going to change the names of towns that actually do matter. It's actually surprising that a lot of the towns in the north, while they have some cultural significance, it's not national significance. Graafrenet does have a lot of significance. If you don't know the history, it might be good for you to check it out and just, sort of inform yourself on that. But I quickly want to show you guys. This is just my feed, by the way. This is when I opened up X just before the stream started, just to, quickly see if there's anything new that's happened that we need to be discussing. this is what I opened up to. So this isn't me, carefully selecting a bunch of tweets to show you, a bunch of posts to show you. This is the feeling of a significant chunk of black freedom fighters in this country. So listen to this. They need to get comfortable. We'll systematically erase their existence one step at a time. They think we'll fight them and spill blood. They're sorely mistaken. We'll administratively demolish their colonialism and apartheid relics. Anyone who doesn't quite understand, that is a direct call to genocide. There is only one reason why you would want to remove and erase the relics of someone's heritage. And this is well documented in the steps of genocide. If you actually go and you look at I think it's 8 or 10 stages of genocide. It's 10 stages, yeah, because you have denial. That's like one of the final stages. But the first 8 are like the actual leading up to the genocide part of it. One of the steps, I think it's 4 or 5, is actually the erasure of culture. Removing the culture. Why? It is very difficult to paint someone, a human being, as a vermin or a pest if there is an actual sort of symbol of their humanity. But if you can remove that symbol of their humanity, it becomes a lot easier to just pretend like they're not human in the first place. And we've already seen elements of that, where you have famous people in this country calling white people Neanderthals, ultimately saying they're not actually human. And what happened to him? What happened to that music producer? He was told to apologize. When Penny Sparrow referred to black people as monkeys, which she should not have done, granted, her life was destroyed. But when this man referred to white people as Neanderthals, apologize, don't do that. Cease, man. That's the level of righteousness and justice that we deal with in this country. Let's go down a little bit. But this, by the way, is actually Carly. You guys should follow her. She's a black girl on X, but she describes herself as an Afrikaner because she grew up with white parents in white neighborhoods, in white communities. She speaks Afrikaans pretty normally, and she actually fights on the side of Afrikaners. So if you haven't followed her yet, you probably should. But here you have, for example, another post. You will get over it, Rory. At some stage, you stopped referring to Zimbabwe as Rhodesia. You were also in denial. Robert Zibukwe town is beautiful. The posts go on. We are anti-nobody. We are pro-Africa. We breathe, we dream, we live Africa. Since the rename. And now there's this pretense. Apparently, us Afrikaners have the ability to go change Google Maps. Like we just go into Google Maps and we're now making up new names. And according to this guy, this is us doing all of this. Claiming things like churches. It's an endless... There's some of the stuff here that I can't even show you. Like if I keep going down, there's like direct calls to violence that YouTube would probably remove me for. But if you just spend any time on X. Now, I understand that this is the majority of black people that feel this way. I fully understand that and I fully accept that. But there are enough black people who feel this way that it can become a serious problem. Right? It can become a serious problem. You don't need that many people to have a successful coup, to have a successful revolution. You really do not need that many people. And there's a couple of posts. I'll show you guys this in a second. Let me just find it without getting banned from X. Because, yeah, it can get a bit dicey with some of the stuff that these people post. Let me just see if I can find it. If she did not delete it. I'm trying to find... I think she may have deleted this post because I actually retweeted this or reposted this. And this morning when I went to my ex, it was completely gone. Uh, so I think she even understood this is going to look very bad because it's effectively Bianca. You guys should know her if you're on X at all. Bianca basically said the quiet part out loud. It just went. What's funny to me is the fact that all these white people are angry, and even if they don't actually change the name, it would still be worth it just to see white people hurt. And I was like, okay, so you're actively admitting this isn't about black pride or cultural pride or, you know, reinforcing the idea that black people also have a voice and also have a space in this country. This is just to punish white people. That's literally all this is about. It's the only thing that you actually care about. And they're calling for everything, by the way. They're calling for the name South Africa to be changed, every single town to be changed. There are once again renewed calls all over X from people begging that the Afrikaans version or the Afrikaans part of the national anthem also gets removed completely. Literally, all of it is now aimed at this consistent. How do you put this? This consistent call to erase everything that links back to Afrikaners. But then time and time again, we're told South Africa belongs to everyone who lives in it. Cyril Ramaphosa stood in the White House, in the Oval Office with President Trump. And what did he say? What did he say? South Africa belongs to all who live in it. Right? That was his words. He was speaking about how even white people are welcome in this country. There's no discrimination in this country. There's no persecution in this country. And yet, every single time, what do we see? Every single time, what do we see? What are the laws that's consistently being passed in this country against the white minority? What are the things consistently enacted and visited upon the white minority in South Africa that we are powerless to stop this? And this is a conversation that a lot of people aren't ready to hear. A lot of people aren't ready to hear this. I would want someone to explain to me what is the difference between democracy and dictatorships if you are a white South African. Because the ANC loves to claim that we live in a democracy. This is a democracy. It's a free country. Really? When's the last time a white South African had any political power in this country? Every single white person in this country lives under laws that they did not vote for. Every single white person in this country lives under laws that they did not vote for. In fact, every single white person in this country pays taxes to a government for which it has zero representation. It gets even worse. Every single white person in this country funds programs that are directly designed to discriminate against him. And yet people say this is a democracy. And my question is, how? Democracy is supposed to be the will of the people. But from my perspective, my will has never actually been enacted in this country. I have never had any representation in this country. And what all of us were hoping for, what all of us were wishing for, was with the advent of the GNU, maybe we would actually be represented in this country. Maybe there would finally be a government that speaks on our behalf. And what we found is a bunch of parties forming a government that still doesn't speak for us. Not a single one of the laws that were passed against us were ever changed. They're all still there. And in fact, they're getting worse. So my big question is, tell me the difference between a dictatorship and a democracy. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know what that difference is. I don't understand that difference. It's more than just money. It's more than just money, Winnie. So the thing is, what you need to understand is, for the communist progressive, and by that I'm not saying that there aren't many people in the politics that are just after the money and they really don't care about anything else. I'm talking specifically about the majority, or at least the group that makes the decisions. Yes, money might play some role, but most of them don't need more money. They already have all the money that they need. This is about a score. From their perspective, there is a score to be settled. There are white people who have not yet been punished, and these white people must be sufficiently punished. As far as they're concerned, it has to happen. She says, yeah, it's 100% ideologically driven. 100% ideologically driven. And from where I sit, I can't see any way out. Because political power isn't ours. We don't have political power. Right? We can't vote and make any meaningful difference. Even if all the white people voted for the exact same party, it would be a drop in the bucket. The majority, at least based on what I see on X and what I see in the real world, as we discussed yesterday, the majority clearly has no interest in voting for anyone other than the very progressive forces in this country. And it's the progressive forces in this country that has one goal and one goal only: punish the whites. They must be punished. So let's talk. If you're a black person in this country and you're looking at Graafrenet and you're saying, look, what you guys need to understand is this was our land. We're just reclaiming it from colonies and colonizers because we want to restore black pride. We want to restore black cultural pride. Here's the reality. We did not take towns that already existed and just renamed them into our own. We named them because we built them. They were upheld by the apartheid government, and there are many towns like this. Somerset West, for example, is a great example of a town that is named after a general in the British Army that was incredibly evil towards the Afrikaner people. And yet we kept the name. Why? Because history is about remembering the past, good or bad. For the good, that's what you keep and you take that forward. For the bad, you promise and vow not to ever do that again. That's the point of history. We can have pride in places like Graafrenet because we built it. It is ours. You will never have pride with Simon Sebokwe town because it is not yours. Simon did not find that town. Simon did not build that town. And you had the opportunities to do so. Cyril Ramaphosa was going to build a smart city, Africa's first ever smart city. It's still just a bunch of bricks. There's not even a single foundation that has been built yet. Julius Malema was going to build a school. I've never seen that school. If they are building it, they're going incredibly slow. But look at what the Afrikaners are doing. There's a brand new university being built right now by the Afrikaners. That will be our heritage. We will be remembered for that. And you can rename it. You can take it and say, it is now Cyril Ramaphosa's university. But your kids, the ones who come after you, they will look back on the current South Africa and they will ask one question. What did you build? What did you make? What did you make to leave for us? Because we can see all the things you took and then destroyed. That's evidence, right? That's not hard. But what did you build for us? Did you actually plant the trees under which we can now sit? No. So if you're one of those black people who think this is about cultural pride, I have news for you. You will drive through Simon Sebukwe or whatever town you want to name it. And as you drive through it, you will see those buildings and you will know we did not build this. You will look at the church that stands there, one of the most iconic churches in the entire Africa. And you will know that you did not build that. It was not your hands. It was not your idea. It was not your ideology. It was not your ancestors. Because you are so insistent on punishing the whites, you are incapable of moving forward. You are, in many ways, a victim of your own hatred. And you seem incapable of ever escaping. They want to rename it to Azania, because apparently South Africa is too colonial for them. Never mind the fact that it is incredibly apt. It is indeed the south of Africa. But no. It must be called Azania, because that's the Pan-African idea, right? The Pan-Africanist thing is that Africa is really Azania, and they want the whole of Africa to be or sort of incorporated into Azania or Azania. Like Elon said, demographics do not lie. They just outbreed you and you are paying. The thing is, right? So the rate at which they're having children is actually a blessing. That's actually such a good thing. And if there were more black people who understood the blessing that they had, they would be unstoppable. But instead of actually deciding as a group, let's move forward. Let's forget about the past. Let's stop living in this endless cycle of grievance politics, and let's build something that lasts. All they do is sacrifice their children on the altars of hatred. And what happens to the white kids in South Africa? They leave. They escape the persecution and go to other countries. So you're not really punishing the white children. You're not really punishing those who are good enough. And it's not just white kids, by the way. Do you know how many black kids escape South Africa, never to return again? They have no interest in ever coming back. Why would they come back to a country that is just falling apart? So you're losing the black child that could actually fix this country. You're losing the white child that could actually fix this country because you're so hell-bent on punishing the white people that are still here that you don't realize that you're sitting in the lifeboat that you're lighting on fire. That's literally what is happening in this country. Imagine the whole of South Africa is one big lifeboat. We just got off the Titanic. If apartheid was the Titanic, we're on this lifeboat. And we're heading towards another ship, a bigger ship, better, more beautiful than the Titanic. But as we're going, there's this one group of passengers that is just continuously sitting there with matches, trying to bloody light this lifeboat on fire. Why? Because they want the owners of the Titanic. And thanks to us, that's not their heritage. They didn't build this lifeboat, so they will destroy this lifeboat. And it's like, guys, you do realize you're in the same boat, right? If this thing goes down, we all go down. But their argument is usually something like, and I've heard this argument before. Their argument is usually something like, we are already poor, so if we must suffer, then so be it. And it's like, wait, you do realize that the kind of suffering we're talking about isn't the, I get my 350 rounds a month and I can buy pop and meat. The kind of suffering we're talking about, there's no pop, no meat. If you don't believe that that can happen, I invite you to go look at what happened in Venezuela. The people in Venezuela was eating their dogs and their cats just to stay alive. So if you think that that can happen, you are wildly mistaken. famine is possible. Zimbabwe is a great example of a place where people literally died of hunger because they could no longer feed their people. But of course, from their perspective, my brother actually made this joke with me because a family member of mine told me, I told you guys yesterday about the auctions that's closing down around the country where farmers go to auction off their cattle. And I wrote to this family member and I said, wow, that's crazy. And I asked him a bunch of follow-up questions. And my brother replies to me very sarcastically. And he goes, Stefan, why are you worrying? You buy your meat from Checkers anyways. And the reason he's making that joke is that's literally their argument. I buy my meat from Checkers. I don't need these farmers. And if you think that that's a lie, I have legitimately had that argument made at me. I have legitimately had a person say to me, I buy my food from Checkers. And you're like, are you sure you understand how a supermarket works? Like the food doesn't just magically appear there, right? Like there's actual food that has to be produced somewhere. Now, I'm not saying that all of them think that way. I think a lot of the people who believe that this country will be fine, even if they burn it down, are people who think that it's easy to farm. It's easy to run a country. How hard can it be? And that's ultimately just, a reality that we're currently sort of, I think, struggling with in this country. These people vote and it counts as much as yours does. Well, this is one of the reasons I'm not a fan of democracy. This is one of the reasons I believe democracy to be one of the most evil systems ever. Because I had the luxury of being born in South Africa. I had the luxury of living in South Africa. And I don't see how any person who lives in South Africa can look at South Africa and not come to the same conclusion as I have. Democracy is one of the most evil systems on the planet. I have more respect for dictatorships because at least dictatorships are honest. Like the dictator gets into power and he says no more rights for anyone. I'm the dictator, I'm the boss here, you will all do as I say. That's at least a lot more honest. The problem with democracy is that if you are a minority like the white people in South Africa, you're in a dictatorship. But they get to pretend like, oh, but this is a democracy. You can just vote. It's like, oh yeah, I'm sure my vote will count for a lot. Thank you very much. I've been trying to vote you out of office for as long as I've lived. And it's not worked yet. Because the majority is still hell-bent on destroying me. So they'll just keep voting for the ANC because the ANC is sticking it to the white people by changing the name of Graaf Reinet to Simon whoever gives a crap. And by the way, Simon is a terrorist. This man threw bombs into churches. That's the man that they honor. That's the kind of man that they care about. So it's just one of those things where you have to at some point ask yourself, what are we dealing with here? Now, again, I need to, or Robert Sobukwe. Excuse me. Why do I have Simon on my mind? Why am I thinking about Simon? I shouldn't be thinking about Simon because there's now renewed calls. They want to call Johannesburg Biko. They literally want to name Johannesburg Biko after Steve Biko. So I'm not sure where Simon comes in. I would, if I said Steve, that would have made sense. But yeah, they want to do, they want to do Biko for the next one. What about Garfunkel? Hey, they could do Garfunkel if they wanted to. But yeah, so, Robert, whoever gives a crap. But the guy literally was a terrorist, just FYI, for those of you that don't know. It makes you wonder where to next. What's the next evil step for this government? What's the next thing that these guys are going to do? Travel north and you will see the ruins. Unfortunately, they seem incapable of building a safe and functional state. Thankfully, we know how. Dewart, I mean, I come from the north. I come from Polokwane, which is pretty much as far north as you can go before you leave the cities and just go into rural areas. So I know exactly what the life in the north was all about. It's why I left. It's why I came to Cape Town. because I could just no longer stand living in Pretoria. Once you, and you will understand what I mean when you go through a week of no electricity every month. That was the thing that prompted me to just pack up and go to move to Cape Town. Because I was living in, was it Ferry Glen? No, not Ferry Glen. What's the place called? I always forget the suburb. You have Olympus, Silver Lakes, and this other suburb. But basically, every single time load shedding happened and they switched on the power again, the substation would blow up and then you'd be without power for a week. Something E. What's horseback riding again in English? Equestria. That's the name of it. Equestria. Thank you. Yeah, Equestria. I lived there. And after about 6 months of that, I turned to my brother and I said, yeah, I need to leave this. I will not stay here anymore. And my brother's like, well, I also work from home. Let's just move to Cape Town. And I was like, yeah, let's do that. And then my other brother said, yeah, I'm going as well. So that's how I ended up here. It's like that, cash van a robbery making the rounds. Everyone is shocked. We SA folk are like, that's the average day for us. Look, there's something very interesting that I'm finding out now more and more. Do you guys know how many white South Africans who flee this country to America arrive in America and is then diagnosed with PTSD? This is apparently a massively growing thing now. I had someone speak to me just the other day telling me that this is like case workers who are working with these refugees in America realize that, hey, you should go see a therapist. You're suffering from PTSD, or at least looks like you are. And I remember as I was told this, I sat there and I thought, really? PTSD? Why? I know life is hard here, but PTSD? And then it suddenly struck me. Now, I'm sure we have some international viewers here, or at least people that will watch this afterwards. So I'm going to explain to you guys, and literally every single South African year will immediately know what I'm talking about. For a lot of the international viewership, you won't even know what this is. When you get into your car and the very first thing you do is lock the door as soon as you can. That's just normal. That's not considered like a strange thing, or it's just you get in, you immediately lock the door. And then you look in your mirrors. When you stop at the stop street and you're constantly looking in the mirrors, especially when it's later at night, looking to see, is there someone following me? Is there someone walking up to my car? When you see someone walking up to your car, you get this sort of cold feeling of, is my door locked? Is everything okay? What's going on here? When you stop at the robot or at the traffic light, as you guys like to call it, we're very advanced here in South Africa. We have robots directing the traffic here. You guys will get there at some point. But when you get to the robot, you leave a gap between yourself and the car in front of you. Why? So that you can get away. In case someone wants to rob you or someone wants to shoot you, maybe you can get away. You don't leave the house when it's dark. Not on foot, anyways. In the car, sure, but then you have certain roads that you drive and certain roads you just avoid. But you won't go walking at night, especially not in Pretoria and Johannesburg. When you walk into your house, the first thing you do is lock the door. Before you go to bed at night, you check the windows, you check the doors, you check the security gates. Everything has to be done. Why? Just to keep yourself safe. When you're walking in the mall, I don't know if you guys have this, but I certainly do. When I'm walking in the mall, I'm constantly feeling, well, not just in the mall, in public, I'm constantly feeling, do I feel my wallet? Do I feel my phone? Do I know where my keys are? You can't put your phone or your wallet on the side of the table at a restaurant because it will get nicked. If you're going to put it on the table, you have to put it on the side of the wall where they have to reach over you in order to get to it. This is reality in South Africa. That's just how we live. This is just considered normal. You wouldn't go into a park in the middle of the night. I remember we used to do this. when I was still in high school, we would often go to the park. There was like a park close to my house, and me and all my friends would go to the park and we would sit there on the swings and on the merry-go-round thingies, and we would just drink because it was a park. Today, kids won't go in there. Not in the middle of the night. You will get into trouble there. So you're just sort of going, well, there's no point. No point in going there. We live in prisons. We legitimately live in prisons. We have walls. We have security gates. My friend who was in America told me that walls, so you guys know the things that all of us have around our homes, that's a rarity in America. Most homes in America don't really have walls. They might have a fence, but mostly the fence is just like a white picket fence, just more to look good rather than keep anyone out. And that's just considered normal. And then I thought, well, maybe it makes sense that so many people are suffering from PTSD without even knowing it. Maybe it is just possible that we have grown so accustomed to this kind of living, this low trust society where you know you cannot trust the guy next to you because he will probably rob you blind or kill you if you give him the opportunity to do so, that you ultimately just sort of, you have to accept it. What else is there to do? You know, we have our barbecues on the weekends and then we laugh about the state of our country because what else can we do? So many of our jokes is about the stupidity of our presidents, the state of our country. Because what else can we do? You know, you have to laugh about it or else you'll kill yourself. You know, where being kind is a sign of weakness. True. Looking up, yep, there ain't a safe place for a single woman to be outside. Even in broad daylight in the parking at Pick and Pay, you get attacked and get told you are going to die soon. Looking up, I think, for young women in this country, well, older women as well, for women, this country is incredibly unsafe, right? It always amuses me when I look at America and I look at those girls, the liberals in America that scream about rape culture or about some culture that they're dealing with in their countries. And I go, huh. You guys clearly don't know what a rape culture looks like. Like, if you lived in South Africa, you would understand what a rape culture actually looks like. You know, like, you guys are dealing with a drop in the bucket. And that's not to say that rape isn't bad always. It is always bad. But the things that a lot of these liberal whites in America complain about, and as a South African, I look at that and I go, you have no idea how blessed you actually are. You know, like the things that you call oppression would be a wonderful sign of freedom for the rest of us. I was watching a Matt Armstrong from UK video and could not deal with the fact that their garage door was open at night and no one safe standing guard. My OCD PTSD wouldn't let it go. Clay Wilson, that happens a lot to me. I remember I was watching this, it's a vlog from some random person. I don't know why, but just this vlog that popped up on my feed from some guy. I think it's a guy and a girl, but I think it's the guy's channel because he's the one speaking mostly in the video. And they're just coming back from doing shopping. The video doesn't have a lot of views. It's maybe like 200 views and it's like 3 or 4 days old. So I think it's a new person that's trying to become famous through vlogs. But anyway, so they walk into their apartment and the door behind them's just open. They literally walk. You can see as he's holding the camera, the door is open and he just follows his girlfriend into the kitchen. And they're standing in the kitchen for probably like, I don't know, 15 minutes just talking. Front door still open. And all I kept thinking was, I couldn't even listen to what they're saying. I just kept thinking, you're not closing that? We're just keeping that open? I mean, that would be suicide here in South Africa. Independence is the only way. Dewart, the problem with independence, okay, and I do agree with you. If you are asking me, I would want not independence. I don't want an independent Cape because I don't believe that's the thing that solves the problem. I want complete federalization of South Africa. And allow me to explain why. An independent Cape has its problems. The amount of administrative sort of hoo-ha that you'd have to jump through in order to make it a viable country might be a little bit difficult. Oh, it's debate. Sorry. Debate. I see now it's debate Martins. Okay. Sorry, debate. I would opt for federalization more, and here's why. I believe that there are a lot of people in South Africa that follow and believe in the same ideology. I believe that there are a lot of people in this country who believe in freedom, who believe in capitalism, who just want to raise their children and be left the hell alone. Kensons, how are you doing, sir? And I want those people to have the opportunity to live with other people who feel the same way. Independence, I fear, would create an almost immediate antagonism. I don't see the ANC as going quietly into that good night, right? They will fight for South Africa. Now, there are some things that could probably change that, just to be clear. If we're just spitballing here, one of the ways in which you could do it is reach out to President Trump and see if America would be willing to take the Western Cape in as a 51st state of America. 52nd, excuse me. Canada would be the 51st. But if they would be willing to take in the Western Cape as a 52nd state of America, not officially, but more just as a, if you guys attack us, we have the United States military to protect us, right? If you could do something like that, maybe you could veer off a very violent counter-revolution for the Western Cape, but that's going to cause new problems that you're going to have to deal with. Whereas I believe federalization of South Africa would free the whole of South Africa from the yoke of national government. And I would want to see a solution that solves all of the problems for South Africa. Not just the problems for the Western Cape. Because the Western Cape's problems, if that gets solved, we will have a run on our borders. Like 100%. There will be a run on the borders if the Western Cape becomes independent. So I don't know. I'm not entirely convinced that independence would work, unless there's maybe something I'm missing. It's possible, right? That there are things that I'm missing. I'm missing someone's message. I saw someone's message now. Scorched policy, Stephen. He is in the devil. He's the devil in disguise. His followers are sheep in wolf's clothing. They have the attitude everything is free. Only the rich need to pay. The law is only on paper. So, Kenzen, thank you so much for the gifted membership. Really appreciate you, sir. Thank you. You're far too kind. I really appreciate that. Sonia, how are you doing? Let me just say this. The whole... this is something that really bugs me also. I get really, really annoyed at people who want taxes on the rich. This is another thing that just drives me insane. This idea that we're going to tax the rich. I want to make this super clear for anyone who thinks there should be higher taxes on the rich. All taxes, everywhere, is a tax on the poor. Always. There is no such thing as a tax the rich. It doesn't exist. Because the rich isn't stupid. If you increase their taxes, they increase their prices. Or they fire their workforce. But fundamentally, they still want to walk away with all of their money. There is no such thing as a tax that isn't majority borne by the poor. Always. So any politician who tells you that, we're going to tax the rich, it's a politician that doesn't understand how taxes work. Taxes is trickle-down economics. You increase the taxes at the top and they increase the prices at the bottom so that they still walk away with their hundreds of millions of dollars. The government gets to say, look at all these taxes we now have. And ultimately that's the thing. Yeah, but the walking away, that's a different thing, right? So that's if you've gone way too far. So there is a point where the rich ultimately just take their stuff and leave. That's when the rich physically can't increase prices anymore and they can't fire more people. So when the rich start to realize that no matter what they do, they're still going to lose money, that's usually where they take their stuff and they go. Like the UK. The UK is currently dealing with a lot of rich people just upping and leaving because why would they stay? There's no point in it. But yeah, for the most part, it is a sort of most people don't understand it. Taxes always trickle down, always. It's people sort of make fun of President Reagan, because President Reagan was the one that believed in trickle down economics. But what people don't understand is President Reagan didn't come up with trickle down economics out of nowhere. The reasoning behind trickle down economics was sound. They looked at the economic system and they said, okay, if you increase prices on the rich, taxes, then it trickles down to the bottom and the bottom pay more for everything. So what if it works in reverse? What if you lift taxes on the rich, that then trickles down to the bottom and it lifts the money of the poor? Because the rich now has to pay less in taxes. That means that they can lower their prices. That means that they can give more jobs. And so ultimately, a rising tide will lift all boats. And fundamentally, there is some level to which that is true, but only if you have the right regulations in place that actually forces the rich to lift all boats. Otherwise, if you just charge a rich person less taxes, they'll just take the extra money. Tax the rich is common talk, always has been. Yeah. Well, tax the rich isn't even always just common talk. It's an easy answer for politicians that don't understand anything and has never owned anything. Is this why Elon Musk left? He would have been an asset for South Africa if they had let him. So, Michael, I mean, Elon Musk left long before he actually meant something, right? So long before he was even halfway rich. He was already out. His parents were the ones, I think, who took him out, or his mom, I think, took him out. So I don't think that's why Elon Musk left. And even if you go back, it wasn't until Elon Musk's son came out as trans that Elon Musk finally woke up and said, enough of this. Most people don't remember this, but Elon Musk was a left-wing Democrat supporter in 2016. Do you guys not remember this? Elon Musk supported the Democrats. He was left-wing. And then his son came out as trans. And I think that was the moment that Elon Musk's entire world shattered. And Elon Musk was like, wait, what the hell is this? And that's the problem with left-wing ideology. Once you see the crack and you start pulling, it falls apart very quickly and you start to see it for the evil that it is. So I'm not saying that Elon Musk is a pretender. I genuinely think it's that moment that made Elon Musk realize there's something wrong here. And as he dug into it, he started to see what this ideology truly is, the evils that it truly visits upon the world. And that was the moment that he eventually flipped and joined the right. Now, Elon Musk is still not a conservative. That needs to be made clear. But that is true for most. All of you in chat will know this. The majority of us has had a moment where your eyes were opened, where you realized, wait, this just doesn't seem right. You know, like a lot of us. So I, for example, if I go back to like 2020, even 2019, if I go back to 2019, my argument was always just let and let live. Like, I couldn't care less. You know, trans people, gay, like, none of that bothers me. People can do whatever they want. I remember people asking me, do you think trans women should be allowed to use the female bathrooms? And I was like, dude, if it looks like a woman, sure. I don't see, like, why is that a problem? That was my approach to this. See, because I didn't understand yet where all of this actually comes from. To me, this was just a random issue that didn't really matter. It wasn't until my eyes were opened and I started to see the flaws and I started to see the system. Because once you realize that this doesn't come out of nowhere, this isn't just a bunch of people that is asking for natural rights. There's a push, there's a movement that is pushing all of this. And this movement that is pushing it is doing it to collapse society. That's their fundamental goal. The idea is, and there's literally, this is the entire plan, the collapse of the nuclear family. So how do they do that? Well, the first step was to tell women that being a mother, being a housewife, bad, bad, bad. You should be a girl boss. You should go into the workplace and you should go kick ass, become a big level executive. That was the first lie. Most women who reach those top echelons are unhappy as hell in their careers because it turns out it does not fulfill most women. In fact, being at the top of your game at Wall Street or in a Fortune 500 company isn't even what most men want, but it's definitely not what most women want. The second lie, or the second avenue of attack, destroy men. How do we do that? Well, the trans movement is a good place to start, and then just make men more effeminate. Tell men that being men is bad. Tell men that all of their natural instincts, the natural ways in which we want to compete and we want to rough and tumble and we want to get tough, that's toxic masculinity and evil. How dare you? Once you have destroyed the man and you have destroyed the woman, you've automatically destroyed the nuclear family. And once you destroy the nuclear family, you can do whatever you want. There's no stopping you. Because kids that do not grow up with a father in the house tend to be a lot worse off. They're more afraid. Their fear levels are they're much more susceptible to fear. And the left uses fear as a tool against those kids. This is why it's not just, you know what, guys, we need to save the environment. This is our environment. We shouldn't pollute as much. That's not the message. If that was the message, I would be part of Greenpeace. If the message was purely, guys, would you rather have clean oceans or dirty oceans? I would legitimately be like, well, that's a no-brainer. I want clean oceans. Let's stop, pumping sewage into the oceans. That sounds like a great idea to me. But that's not the message. What's the message? If we don't do something about climate change right now, it is the end. Fear. Push fear. More fear, more better. And children who grow up without a father in the house are more susceptible to fear as a tactic. Kids who grow up with a father in the house tend to be a lot stronger. They tend to be morally a lot more based, and they have a foundation from which to operate. So that's ultimately the plan. That's why we are where we are. And that is at the core as, birthrates are low for two reasons, right? Birthrates are super low because women were sold a lie that it is okay to first focus on your career. You can get married later. And the reason we now know that was a massive lie is every year that a woman waits after the age of 30, her chances to ever have children diminishes exponentially. So by the time a woman hits the age of 35, she is statistically only about 10% likely to actually ever have children at the age of 35. But we told women, first focus on your career. Focus on being a bad boss bitch. Because, you've got this, kid. You can handle it. Right? So that was the first lie. Then we told young boys it's okay to never grow up. You can play as long as you want. Just go have fun. The problem this has created, the women who don't want to be boss babes, right, who actually do want to go get married, can't find a husband worth marrying for crap because all of us are running around being children. And by that, I'm not saying you should stop playing video games or stop hanging out at comic shows or anything like, or stop reading comic books. But we have replaced the real world for fantasy worlds, and I did this, right? So I'm not talking to you guys. Talking to you guys as this guy that has all of this figured out. Until 2 years ago, my entire life was being wasted inside video games. I didn't need to care about the real world because I was busy saving Azeroth in World of Warcraft. Right? I was busy running around having fun. I was having way too much fun to think about settling down and suddenly taking care of a family. In fact, that was exactly my point. Whenever I was asked, do you not ever want to get married? Don't you want a wife? Maybe you should go to the gym, start taking care of your body because you might want to get married one day. My answer was, hell no. If I get married, I'm going to have to stop playing video games at 7 o'clock at night because she wants to spend time with me. Why the hell would I do that? I can now just play games until, whenever I'm tired, I go to sleep and I wake up and I can play more games. Why would I grow up? Of course, no one tells you you are depressed as hell and you get to a point where you literally want to, you literally don't even know what the point is. I'll tell you guys how depressed I actually was. My aunt asked me, how are you doing? This was a few years ago. Let's say 3, maybe 3.5 years ago, maybe 4. She asked me, how are you doing? And for some reason, I didn't give her my bog standard answer because my normal answer is usually I'm doing great. Thanks. But for some reason, I sat there and I thought about it. And I thought, and this was my answer to it. I said, I don't feel any which way. She said, what do you mean? And I said, I feel neutral. And she asked me, what do you mean? And I said, whether I live or die doesn't matter to me. And this freaked her out. And I couldn't understand why she was so freaked out about this. Like, why is this such a big problem for her? Because I just don't really care. I had nothing to live for. It wasn't like I hated life, but there was also nothing that I was living for. So if I died, that would be cool too. Like who even gives a crap? That's a level of depression that I think is worse than most because you're so depressed, you don't even know that you're depressed, right? You don't even know that you're struggling with depression. Angela, thank you very much. I truly appreciate the compliment. And fundamentally, that's what that life does to you. Losing yourself in video games, losing yourself in fantasy worlds, refusing to grow up, it leads to an incredibly unhappy life. And by the way, Nicholas, with the 70 Rand donation, I truly appreciate you, brother. Thank you, thank you, thank you. To be fair, modern women suck. Your argument is entirely logical regarding games. See you on Cyberstan. So I still play games, just to be clear. But now I do it within reason. When I have work to do, I do my work first. I will not play games until my work is done. For example, today I've been working up until now. Now I'm streaming. I'm not playing games now. But after this, when I go make my dinner, I will probably eat my dinner, and then maybe I'll play a little bit of Slay the Spire, or I might play some Menace, or I might play any other game. I'll play that for about an hour or two, then I'll do Bible study, and when I'm done with that, I go to bed, because tomorrow morning, 5 o'clock, I have to be awake for gym. Right? So I'm taking my life a lot more seriously. I still fail. Like, look, there are days where I spend an entire Saturday just playing games and being bad, and I usually feel crap for that. But there are days where I do that. I'm gonna be very honest with you. But fundamentally, I try to live my life now with a goal. I do want to get married. I want to be in a place where I can take care of a wife, where I can take care of kids, where I can achieve some level of responsibility in my life. Right? Those are things that I'm currently working towards. I'm not there yet, right? As you can see, still have a lot of weight that needs to be lost. That's still going to take some time, but I'm on the way, right? So this is the first lie, right? We've told men you don't have to grow up. Just be kids. So the woman that desperately want to be married, she desperately just wants to be a mother. And I know a lot of women like this, by the way. There's specifically a lot of these girls at my church where, and I'll never forget this. The first time I went to my church and I started talking to one of the girls there, and I was like, so what do you want to do one day? Because she's still young. She's like 20, maybe 21. I'm like, what do you want to do one day? And she's like, I cannot wait to be a wife and a mother. And I remember she said this to me and I was like, what? Why would you say this? Right? I've never heard a girl actually say this to me. Now I've heard this plenty of times, right? I've heard this from so many women who that's all they want to do. Specifically from women who went into the workplace. They're now 33, 34, and they're turning around saying, I hate this. I just heard of a girl who went on a date with someone that I know. This girl is about 31, 32. And as she and this guy is talking, he asks her, so, are you happy? What are you doing? Do you like it? And she says, I hate my life. And he's like, why? And she says, I don't want to worry about the things that I worry about every single day. This is a man's job. I want to raise my children and be a wife. That's it. I no longer want to worry about bills. I no longer want to worry about going to work. I no longer want to worry about, rushing home in traffic. I don't want these worries. I want to be married. I want to have children. That's what I want to do. Right? And fundamentally, that is something that you as a man should want to provide. But as long as you're also being a child, you can't provide that for her. You're not going to want to provide that for her. And that's going to lead to all of us being less happy. Did I serve? No, I was way too young to serve. I was 9 when apartheid came to an end. By the time I was the age to actually go to the military, there was no point in going to the military. So I did not serve in the military. But that's what they tried, but government sold them out. Veterans is not looked after here in SA. Keep taking those steps. At some point, you look back and you're going further than you ever thought possible. I was close to giving up a year ago. I'm glad you didn't, Siege. I'm glad you didn't. English is so open and all about real life. They say it's the only thing I can be, really. Wouldn't have imagined that I could have achieved what I have with very little support, built a garden in my flat, and now I have a small gardening business. Well done, bro. Well done. Well done. Very happy for you. But yeah, I think this is the thing that is destroying our society, is this manufactured war between men and women, lies being sold to both sides of the aisle, and no one actually waking up and saying, hold on, this isn't conducive to happiness. Most women will never be happy being the boss of a Fortune 500 company. Most women will never be happy, running their own businesses. And that's not to say that women are lazy. Trust me. The women I know who are housewives, they work harder than their men. But their men take care of the business. And they know when a problem arises, the husband's going to take care of it. They know that they are valued because their husbands love them. Because their husbands understand they wouldn't be able to work if they didn't have their wives. Funny story. I'll actually tell you guys this. One of my friends, we went to his house and we're hanging out. And his wife is busy. I can't remember what. Oh, she was still away. She went, I think, for coffee or something with her sister-in-law or her sister. So it's just us guys. We're still waiting for her to come home. And I want to start mixing bread. Because I bake my own bread. I don't like buying bread from the store because it makes me sick. So I bake my own bread with raw flour. Freshly mulled flour. I have a shop that I go to that mulls it right in front of you, and then you have to put it in the fridge and stuff like that. So I'm going there and I'm making this bread. And I ask him, can I get a mixing bowl, please? And I remember he looks at me and he goes, just like a normal bowl. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, okay. And he walks up and down the kitchen like twice, and he turns to me and he goes, "It's somewhere in this kitchen. I don't know where the bowls are, though." And I said to him, "Wait, what do you mean you don't know where the bowl?" I said, "I've never had a need to remove a bowl. There's just always a bowl if a bowl is needed, but I don't know where they are." Because his job is to bring in the money, her job is to take care of the business at home. And they're both happy to do that. That's just sort of how it plays out. Maybe don't be like that guy, but that is one of the ways in which it can go. There's luck out there waiting for you. Thank you, Angela. I truly appreciate you. And Sven, there is a hidden question here. What's the question? What's going on? Eric again, although I'm left-leaning, I definitely agree with you that the political extreme left are crazy. Science, how you doing, bro? I think a lot of people on the left are waking up to the reality that the extreme left is a serious problem. Here's your big issue. You guys on the left seem to be completely incapable of policing your extreme side. You seem completely incapable. On the right, we sort out our bad apples. Like the far right, they don't survive on the right. There's currently a civil war in the right getting rid of the far right, the Nick Fuentes and those guys, because we don't want them in our side. We don't agree with that argument, right? We don't want white nationalists in the group. So they're being exercised. It seems like the left or the liberals have a very hard time sorting out their far left. If anything, the far left is running around doing whatever the hell they want. And the liberals seem to be incapable of putting an end to it. So I suspect most liberals will eventually become conservatives. I suspect most people on the left will walk over to the conservative side eventually as they realize there's no hope now of fixing that. I'm leaning, but really I'm apolitical. I'm sort of talking more broadly, Kirby. I'm not really like speaking at you. I'm just more broadly sort of making the point. Baking bread, not me. I love making food. Like I love cooking, and I never used to love baking, but once you start baking bread, it is addictive. Because it really is such a fun process. Especially with this flour, because it behaves completely different to normal flour. Remember, this is freshly milled. It goes rotten in 3 days. That flour has to go into the freezer within the same day. If you leave it outside for 3 days, it'll be rotten. You can't use it anymore. It goes completely rancid. So the flour behaves so weirdly. And then I keep tweaking the recipe until now I have a pretty strong recipe that allows me to make pretty good bread. And that's all I eat every single day. And I'll tell you, from a health perspective, it's been phenomenal. So I had this thing. I don't know what it's called. My father once told me what it is, but I can't remember what it's called. But I have a problem where my body holds back moisture, like specifically water. My body just holds it back. So I would have swollen fingers, swollen feet, and I was on this medication called Spiractin that it's like a water tablet, so it allows your body to get rid of the water. But on that tablet, my fingers would still always be swollen, my feet would still always, but not badly. If I stopped drinking the tablet, my feet would literally puff up to the point where I can't wear shoes, I can't move my toes. That's how bad it would get. And I ate super bad. So a lot of it has to do with my diet. I would eat just processed bread and processed carbs literally every day of my life, eat and drink whatever the hell I want. By the grace of God alone, I was never diagnosed with diabetes. I don't know how. The way I used to eat, I should have had diabetes already, but thanks to God and His grace, I was never diagnosed with diabetes. I know, it sounds crazy. Look how fat I am. I don't have diabetes. So I've switched to this bread about a month and a half ago. This is my hand. No medication. I stopped drinking the medication about 2 weeks ago. Usually by this time, my fingers are like twice, 3 times the size that it is now. I do this and I can literally feel the bones. There's no swelling whatsoever. I feel healthier than I've ever felt before. I have no inflammation whatsoever. And all I eat every single day of my life is 2 slices of that bread, maybe some steak. Right now I have chicken that I'm eating with it. So I made this afternoon, I made chicken mayonnaise sandwich, but just like 2 slices of bread with chicken mayonnaise on top of it. And then after this stream, I'm going to go eat a pear. I have some of these prunes that I like eating because it's got a lot of fiber in it, which really helps. And I then do a bowl of oats, which is also from the shop. So also goes rancid in 3 days. You have to eat it as quickly as possible. They roll it right there in front of you, and then you eat it. That oats, and that's my meals every single day of my life. No veggies and crap like that. I don't like veggies. Veggies suck. I eat that every single day. I feel healthier than I've ever felt before. But it requires baking your own bread. Love baking bread. Agree. We got addicted to baking bread. It's so much fun. But you have to get away from white flour. Get away from flour that you buy in the store. You need to go. It's usually referred to as raw flour or freshly mulled flour. Like if you just Google freshly mulled flour, you will find places that sell the grain, and hopefully they do the milling for you as well, and you use that to bake your bread. It's phenomenal. Matty, how you doing, bro? I don't like salads. It's not that I hate salads. Depends what salad. Are we talking potato salad, banana salad, or green salad? Because if it's green salad, no, thank you. I have no interest eating like a rabbit. If it's potato salad, sure. If it's banana salad, hell yes. I don't like anything else. Do you do sourdough? I've done sourdough, but that's just too much work. So no, I just bake the bread normally. I don't do the sourdough starter. But here's a fun thing about this, Theseus. I can make this bread sourdough without adding any sourdough starter. So you're in Cape Town, Theseus. You're in Cape Town, right? Go on Google Maps and type in the word Go Natural. Just on Google Maps. Go Natural. David, how you doing, brother? Okay, so Go Natural. It's between Somerset West and Stellenbosch. Fir Grove is the farm, is Fir Grove. You go there, it's this store that sell the grains, they sell mealie pop. So they sell the mealies that get turned into mealie pop as well. They even have, which is super interesting, they have ancient corn, which actually makes like a purple pop. It's purple. It's a black corn, so it's completely black. And when they mill it and you actually make pop out of it, it's purple. Tastes incredible. Very weird flavor, but actually quite nice. But you go there, you buy it there, and then you can bake your own bread with that. But you make it into sourdough by leaving it for 1 day. Mix it all together, mix it, put it in the fridge. The next day, you take it out, and it is sour. You can literally smell the sour coming off of it. Because the grain goes sour so quickly, it sours rapidly. So then that's usually how I make my sourdough bread. You just put that in the oven and you have a bread that tastes like it's sourdough. Check house windows, doors before bed, and sometimes middle of the night, distance between cars. None of this. I've heard of a few people that escaped South Africa and still go through that same thing. Like they can't escape the sort of built-in clock that we just have here. Seeds, I love those old strains. Yeah, that's it's all sorts of even the grain that they sell there is non-GMO ancient grains. Go Natural sounds like a nudist beach. But there's probably one of those here somewhere as well. Bread lost once baked. Angela, so my bread, the one that I have downstairs now, is about 3 days old. I'll tell you tomorrow if it can still work. If it's still okay, right? So I'll tell you tomorrow if it's still okay. Right now, it's still good, but I think by day 4, it's probably going to be a problem. But it does freeze very well. So if you want, you can just freeze the braid, and it'll last, I think, up to a month in the freezer. But yeah, I'm on day 3. I literally ate of it this afternoon, and it's good, beautiful. Ancient grain you can buy it. It is Matabalpap. We grew up on it, yes. Oh, but Matabalpap is sorghum. So Matabalpap, they also sell that, by the way. Proper sorghum, which makes Matabalpap beautiful. Yeah. Seriously, define far right, because being proudly white is considered far right, supremacist even. So where is the middle ground? Clay Wilson, okay, so here's the thing. If I could ask you this, are you okay with being white, or are you proud of being white? Because I feel like that's a very unique distinction that has to be made. I love being white, but I'm most definitely not proud of being white, because I don't understand what would I be proud of. And I don't mean white people did bad stuff that I shouldn't be proud of. I was born white. I had nothing to do with being white. So I'm not sure what that would lead to pride. Am I proud of being German? Am I proud of what my ancestors did for me? Yes. I'm very proud of what my ancestors did for me, but that doesn't really relate to my skin color. It relates to my ancestors and what they directly did. My grandfather leaving school at the age of 12 to become a bricklayer and working himself nearly to death in order to put my dad through university so that my dad could become, well, I won't go into detail, but so that my dad could have a successful career. I'm terribly proud of that, but not of my skin color. I happen to like being white, and I definitely don't mind it, but I don't understand when people say I'm proud of being white. Where does the pride thing come in? Like, what are you proud of? And so that I don't understand. Am I proud of being an Afrikaner? Hell yes. But again, it's not really tied to my skin color. That's tied to what my people went through. That's tied to the history of the Afrikaner people. And I'm incredibly proud of what they sacrificed and what they achieved. Right, so on that front, yes, I'm proud of being Afrikaner, but again, I'm not proud of being white. My problem with people who say far right, the white nationalist idea, I can't align myself with someone that sees skin color as the most important denominator. That's just not a group that I want to be aligned with. Because what you're effectively telling me is that Pieter Kriel is a better person than Thomas Sowell because Pieter Kriel is white and Thomas Sowell is black. Now, any group that holds to a value that puts skin color at such a high level that one of the greatest economic minds of our age, perhaps of all ages, is seen as below an 18-year-old progressive communist little piece of crap is not a movement that I have any time for. Because that's by definition what it means. If you say I'm proud of being white and, white nationalism, white people should have their own places, you are by definition saying that being white puts me in this position or this category. And maybe you're not making an argument that this one is better than that one, but you are ultimately saying if you're white, you can live with us. If you're black, you can't. And then I say, well, I don't want to live with Pieter Kriel. I'd rather live with Thomas Sowell, if I'm going to be super honest with you. Right? So there for me is a big difference between being proud of your heritage and being proud of your people and being proud of your skin color. Because skin color alone, I don't think is sufficient. heritage in that way, I think, means a lot more to me. Fought hard for what I inherited. However, the phrase proud to be white has been subverted into being far right. Yeah, I'm not talking about that, Clay, right? So if you want to say proud to be white, I think that that's the wrong way of expressing it. But if that's what you want to do, then go for it, right? I couldn't care less. But if you're going to put your skin color as the most important identifier, I'm just going to say that's not a movement that I want to be a part of. I'd rather look at the contents of the character. If your heart is like mine, I want to build a nation with you. If your heart isn't like mine, I don't want to build a nation with you, regardless of your skin color. The Gray with the 70 Rand donation, really appreciate you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Martin Luther King. Great words, right? Great words. And, he himself wasn't necessarily a great guy, but those are still amazing words, right? It really hurts to see Graaff-Reinet got its name changed. It really has a deep root in history for Afrikaners. Kenzen, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But again, we will survive this, right? Fundamentally, we will survive also that. The wicked and the evil will get what's coming to them in the end. And I genuinely believe that. The vengeance belongs to God. But yeah, I think people should be... I'm proud of my English and Afrikaans families. Like, I don't have any English families, but I have Afrikaans family. I have German family. So, again, for me, there's a lot of pride that goes into that, but not the ugly kind of pride, more the being grateful for what they've done for me, being grateful for the sacrifices that they made that allowed me to be here today. Has it been changed on Google Maps yet? I don't know, CR. I haven't checked yet. List of all the towns where they want to change names. I think the minister, Gayton McKenzie, did release the list of all the names that he's approved for name change. Probably not. The Gulf of America is still the Gulf of Mexico, but we all know that it is the Gulf of Mexico, right? The Gulf of America. Sorry. But yeah, I do think it's perfectly fine to be proud of your heritage. It's perfectly fine. You should be proud of your heritage. Because if you are not, you are spitting on the graves of those who came before you that sacrificed themselves for you. You should be damn proud of those that came before you, that sacrificed and lived sometimes in incredibly bad conditions to allow you to be here today. You should be proud of that. But that should not be tied to skin color alone. Because skin color doesn't mean much, right? There's I almost made a French joke, but fundamentally the French are white, and are you proud of that? That is just a joke for all my French friends. If why hot showers have only been around for the past 70 years. True. Exactly. My family fought in 3 wars. Yeah, I have family who was my great grandmother, who I knew because she lived until the age of 99, was in the concentration camps while her father was fighting the British. And after X generations, they are often completely forgotten. Yeah, but we do live in an era now where people no longer put as much emphasis on actually remembering the past. But then again, maybe it isn't even today. I mean, you go read the Old Testament and read how quickly the Israelites forget everything. God leads them out of Egypt. God leads them out of Egypt, and God tells them literally just one thing. Thou shalt have no gods before me. That's all. This is before God gives them the full 10 commandments. God literally just tells them, honor me by not serving the pagan gods from which I rescued you. What do the Israelites do? Last week, they were rescued out of Egypt. What do? They They construct a golden cow. New god now. That's how quickly people forget. That's how quickly people just sort of move on. It wasn't quite last week. It was like maybe like a decade later or something. Just take time to appreciate the names of thousands of graveyards in South Africa alone. My in-laws have their numbers still on their arms. Wow. That's insane, Angela. I'll swap my RSA allegiance with USA any day of the week. Oh, wait. I already have. Matty, nice. Nice. I'm happy to hear that. I wish I could ask you guys how many of you are planning on going to America. But even if I did ask that, even if anyone asked you that, I will say the same thing I said yesterday. Don't say anything. Guys, I cannot stress this enough. Now, I do want to quickly do a bit of a public announcement here. This morning, during my video, I said that there are allegations of a girl that was shot in the head and is lying in hospital. And this is a girl that was apparently on her way to America as a refugee. I have looked everywhere. I have literally looked everywhere. I can't find any confirmation of that story. Now, I do believe in the video I did say we just got reports of it. So I don't know if I actually, made a claim that had actually happened. But if you have any actual information on that happening, I would love to hear from you. Like, send me the information, DM it to me on X or something, because I cannot find a single source that backs up that story. I can't find a single newspaper clipping or anything that backs up that story. So please, if you have any information, let me know. Hope you're well. Dennis, how you doing, sir? I'm already here. Nice, Angela. I'm American Echo. I think I remember that, Kirby. I think I remember that. It's then a year that was Gold Cafe was constructed by Aaron as the people forced him to give them a god to worship. Was it less than a year later? Probably, yeah. Probably really that close. What do you think of the woke Super Bowl halftime show? So I watched it last night, right? Last night I watched I watched the Super Bowl, and as the Super Bowl halftime show started, I tried to watch it. I said to my friend, let's watch this. Because I like the halftime show. I could get like 5 minutes in, and I was like, yeah, okay, we can skip this now. I don't care about this. This is nonsense. And so, yeah, in my opinion, I also have very little time for Piers Morgan. Because Piers Morgan is going on and on about how 40 million Americans have Spanish as their first language. It's like, yeah, but 320 million Americans have English as their first language. Spanish is not the language of America. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care how many Spanish people live there. That is not the language of America. The Super Bowl, the NFL, is the sport of America. If you're going to do a show, do it in English. No hate to Spanish people. You want to listen to Spanish stuff? Go watch football. You have all of those channels and all of the, the La Liga, I think it's called, in Spanish. You can listen to it all day long. Why do you want the Super Bowl to be in a language that is not American? So yeah, I have little to no time for that nonsense. It's woke bullshit, and the NFL, genuinely the only reason that this isn't leading to the end of the NFL is people actually still love the sport. If it wasn't for the fact that I actually love the sport, I would have stopped watching just because of that. TPUSA halftime show was way better. I watched a little bit of the TPUSA show, but not all of it. Chris Wyatt reported on it. Maybe he had someone directly reaching out to him. I'm gonna go watch the Colonel Chris Wyatt's reporting on it, just to get some kind of update to see if it's actually like confirmed, because I can't find anything. And what bothers me about this is that's actually a bigger story. If this girl was actually shot in the head, days or weeks away from actually getting on the plane to become a refugee in America, one would expect that would be national news, right? That sounds like a newsworthy story. I didn't even watch the Super Bowl. It doesn't surprise me with its controversy. I did note how even people who are diehard football fans were absolutely not having it. Am I lame gay in that order? Yeah, I'm a huge fan of NFL. I love the NFL, but that halftime show was not it. Like, there's a million different ways you can do it. Luckily, there were a couple of good Super Bowl ads, so I still had my fun. There were a couple of ads, like the Dunkin' Donut ad, I actually enjoyed with Tom Brady showing up. That was funny. And there was another one with Chris Hemsworth, where he's convinced Alexa is going to kill him and take over the world. That was also a funny ad for me. And there was another ad, but now I can't remember what it was. But there was another ad that I actually quite enjoyed for the Super Bowl. As these hundreds of podcasts are happening across South Africa and the rest of the world, I just cannot understand why we don't have a leader fighting for our safety as a people. Again, 1 + 1 = 2. Toriko, I mean, we do have Donald Trump, right? President Trump is right now seemingly the only leader in the world that is willing to stand up for the Afrikaner people and say enough is enough. And for that, he needs to be commended, right? For that, he absolutely needs to be commended. Not only that, there's actually a bigger story that I can share with you guys that I actually wish more people would focus on. Now, I'll preface this by saying, if this is true, it's actually huge. But this document from the Epstein files, and this is from an actual police officer. President Trump was one of the first people that actually reported Jeffrey Epstein to the police. This was like way back. He knew Epstein was disgusting. Trump said Maxwell was Epstein's operative. She is evil, and to focus on her, Trump told, this is the detective, that he was around Epstein once when teenagers were present, and Trump got the hell out of there. Trump was one of the very first people to call when people found out that they were investigating Epstein. This was like back in 2012 or 2013, where it first became evident that someone in the FBI may be investigating Epstein. Trump actually phoned the investigator and said to him, investigate Epstein and investigate Maxwell. Ghislaine. Or Ghislaine. Because there's definitely something going on there. Of course, the left won't ever talk about this. It's direct and yes, a true savior of nations next to God. Stefan Gous, how you doing, bro? I watched Ad Hoc Committee with Paul O'Sullivan. I suspect they're all a bunch of drama queens, and I suspect Arendse, the biggest half queen, because I can find use for a whole drama queen. Stefan, to be fair, I stopped watching the Ad Hoc Committee, like the live version of it, probably like a month ago. Nowadays, at night, I just look at the recap. I cannot sit and stomach that entire thing live. A lot of it just drives me insane. Just looking at the sheer level of incompetence in our country and realizing we'll never actually be we'll never get justice, because you guys do know that Cyril Ramaphosa said that they cannot prosecute Sensu Mukunu. The guy at the center of all of this corruption, he can't be prosecuted. They can go after anyone else, but Ramaphosa is protecting the man that started the whole thing, is being protected. As soon as that happened, I was like, oh, here we go. Who gives a crap? Nothing anyone says actually matters, because the only people that's actually going to jail here are the people that are in the faction that Ramaphosa doesn't support. It's as simple as that. Man for South Africa, making his voice heard. Toriko, it's harder, I think, than what people understand. The amount of money that you need is incessant. If you really want to make a difference in this country and you really want to speak up for the people of South Africa, there's two ways of doing it. The one is, as I am doing it now, you start from the ground up and you hope that you build a base, an audience that shares your videos, that pushes your videos, that donates or becomes members, or just watch the videos. And hopefully when you get enough people to watch, you can build your own platform and then self-fund, because at some point you're going to have to start going out to universities and you're going to have to start having debates with university students like Charlie Kirk did. You're going to have to start putting on these shows to actually get people to engage with the ideas that you're pushing. So you can do it this way, which is the long way of doing it, or you need money. You need at least 100 million rand that you can sort of immediately kick off your platform and start going to university, start setting up chapters at university so that you can change the young people's minds, and then you can hopefully change everything else. The money is the biggest problem. That's why you have so few actual South Africans speaking out. Because the people that do actually, it is no surprise. And I think this is the other thing that people need to remember. Why was Charlie Kirk so successful? Because Charlie isn't the first one. If you guys remember, Daily Wire did the Daily Wire thing long before Charlie Kirk came around. Steven Crowder did the whole change my mind thing long before Charlie Kirk came around. Why was Charlie Kirk so successful when no one else, and it's not like the others didn't reach that far? What made Charlie Kirk special? What made him become bigger than any of them? Is the answer small hat people? No. His faith, yes, but his faith isn't the direct reason. Because, yes, God is the ultimate reason why Charlie Kirk became as big as he was. Because God had a purpose for Charlie Kirk. And if Charlie Kirk wasn't as big as he was, we wouldn't be seeing the revival of Christianity in America to the degree that we have, or that we are. And remember the old saying in Christianity, the blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church, right? So in that sense, yes. But no, actually, the thing that made Charlie Kirk as big as he was real. Charlie Kirk really believed what he said. For Charlie Kirk, it wasn't just entertainment. It wasn't just making jokes. It wasn't just about the money that he would make on YouTube or the content. He believed in the message. He was authentic. And for people, that matters, right? To see that level of authenticity. Even if you don't agree with his message, you see that level of authenticity and it will speak to you. Right? On some level, that will hit you. He had money behind him and he came on the scene at the right time. He was in line with conservatism and realness. Peter, so the money, yes, absolutely. But then again, Ben Shapiro had a bunch of money behind him, right? Ben came and Ben disappeared pretty much as quickly. Milo Yiannopoulos had a ton of money behind him. He came and he disappeared pretty quickly. So the money isn't the only thing, because there's plenty of examples of people that have the money. They arrive at the right time, but they sort of fall off pretty quickly. With Charlie Kirk, he came and he just kept going. Right? If Charlie Kirk was alive today, he would have been bigger today than what he was a year ago, before his death. There was no stopping Charlie Kirk. This is why they killed him. And that, I believe, was because of authenticity. Charlie Kirk genuinely believed the message. It wasn't just, and by this, I'm not saying that Steven Crowder doesn't genuinely believe in conservatism. I'm not saying that Ben Shapiro doesn't genuinely believe the things that he says, but I think for a lot of them, it's about content also. So yes, they do believe in the message, but it's also content, right? And so even if people don't recognize it completely, they do see it. You do notice that level of realness, that authenticity. And that's something that money and skill and that realness. So you have people in South Africa with the money. The question is, are they authentic? You know, you look at the big boys out there that have all started podcasts and services, and they're doing phenomenal work. The big question, and that's not a question that we can answer right now because time is the only thing that will tell. But you look at Truth Social, for example. Does Truth Social believe the message that Truth Social is pushing? We'll see. I want to believe that they do, right? I want to believe that Rob Hersoff believes the message that he's pushing. And I see no evidence that he isn't, but time will tell. We'll see if Truth Social is actually the thing that can blow up like Turning Point USA did, right? And actually light a flame. All of this is up in the air. We can't know until it happens. I want to believe that they are. The guys from Common Sense, are they going to be the ones to take us forward? Again, we're going to have to wait and see, right? Time will tell. Were they just there at the right time, at the right time in the right place, or are they true believers and are people going to be willing to follow them? Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. As long as you keep it real. Okay, thanks. Peter, that's all I can do. That's all I have is real. Pixel, how you doing? Mythic Banter Echo, Wayne. I don't know if Mythic Banter will continue, Pixel. Myself and Rurikon are very busy with different things. And as much as I loved doing Mythic Banter, I'm so busy with South African politics, the political landscape, that I no longer have a lot of time for the culture wars in the gaming scene. The things that's happening in South Africa is more important to me now. These are things that I now have to fight because, well, it's my life on the line. So I don't have, when I just think about looking at what's the next game that they destroyed, there's a part of me that just goes, they're destroying my country. Game being destroyed, country being destroyed, the country thing is just more important now. So I haven't had much time to, and sadly, in this, I can't even tell you that, but the problems of the gaming scene is the exact same problems of South Africa, because that's not the case. So it is true in America that a lot of the problems on the American scene is actually playing itself out in the culture war of America, but that's not really the case in South Africa. Our problems are very different. So if I was covering more American politics, that would probably have been different for me. Leslie, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Thank you. You're doing a great job. He was pure. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's not just your life, it's the lives of those that come after as well. The gray hour, of course. But right now, I am thinking about sort of my life and the people that I care about, in the immediate sort of surroundings, the people in my church, my family, my aunts and my cousins. These are the people that I'm currently thinking about. My nephews. You say you're busy. Would like to know what a typical day for you is. I'm curious. I'm not disbelieving in you. Just want to know. Science. No, that's a fair question. So typical day for me. I wake up at 5:15 in the morning. I get ready. I go to the gym. I'm at the gym at 6:00. I finish just after 7, like 1-2 minutes past 7. I walk out. I drive to the beach, and I buy coffee. and then I go sit on the beach and I drink coffee. Usually while I'm there, I'll pray. I'll just sort of spend time with God. And that's usually for like half an hour or so. So like 7:45 is when I go home. Once I get home, I shower, and then I already have a video ready because I spent the previous day sort of researching a bunch of stuff. But I will always go online and just look at maybe new things have happened that I've missed while I was sleeping or that I didn't see yesterday. So I'll just quickly check if there's anything new. If there's nothing new, I'll spend the next maybe hour and a half doing last minute research things to just some things that I might still be thinking of, because a lot of my work, a lot of my time goes into all the different questions that people maybe could ask about the topic. So if I have a topic, say for example, the name change of Graaf Reinet, that's a topic. And then I think, okay, what are the questions that my viewers will have about the name change? So now I have to go, okay, what's the history of Graaf Reinet? Let me just make sure I have that history perfect. Who's this Simon guy? Let me go read that. Let me go see, who was he? And what's his significance? Then what do others say about this? Okay, now I have to go look, what is other people saying about this name change? And then sometimes there's other things, or Robert. I keep saying Simon. Why am I saying Simon? But then it's this. So what are other questions that people could be asking about this? Is there some cultural significant questions that people may or may not be asking? All of that's going to play a role, and I'm going to research all of that, and then I start making my video. Once that video is done, my focus shifts to research. So now I'm spending pretty much all of my time, and this is usually what I do. I have a podcast going, dependent on what I see on my homepage. Most of the time, it's some economics podcast. I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm a fan of economics. So literally before this stream, I was busy watching Ray Dalio speak to Tucker Carlson about economics. So I'm probably going to finish that after this. But I'll be watching a podcast of some kind, and then I'll be scrolling through X, researching some of the ideas that I have. So using Grok as a search engine to find pieces of information on things that I want to make videos on. Because I have like a bunch of topics that I want to make videos on, but I don't know enough yet about those topics to actually cover it. So that's usually, I mean, if there's news stories that come out, reading those, seeing if they're worth covering. And then about an hour before the live stream is where I'll take a lot of the research and I'll put that together for the live stream so that I can do the live show. And then after this, I usually just play a bit of games, watch maybe a movie. I'll do something else. So right after this stream, when I finish this, is when I'll go and relax for a bit until about 8 o'clock. And then tonight at 8 o'clock, I'll do Bible study, read books. So I have Spiritual Maturity, this book here that I'm reading for Men's Fellowship. So that's for the church. Then I have Gentle and Lowly, which is a book that a friend of mine gave me. So I'll read these books, and then I'll do Bible study, and then I'll go to bed. And then I wake up for tomorrow again. So you sleep in the mornings. I consider myself late if I am not on the way to work when you wake up. Michael, are you for real? 5 o'clock in the morning, you're already on your way to work. No, hell no. 5 o'clock is when I wake up. I go to bed at I fall asleep usually just after 10. So 10:30, 11. And then if I'm lucky, I sleep till 5:15. But usually I don't fall asleep at 10 o'clock. So usually I'll only fall asleep after 11, and then I'll wake up before 5. And then I just lie in bed and wait for my alarm. Because I struggle to sleep more than 5 hours. Like I'm usually lucky if I get like 6 hours of sleep. That's lucky for me. Where and how do you do research? So, name, a lot of my research is done using AI, right? So I don't treat AI the same as most people. I don't ask it questions. I ask it to find things for me. So for example, a lot of what I'll do is I'll say, is there any research on farm murders in South Africa? And then it'll give me a bunch of links of all of the studies that's been done on farm murders. And then I'll click on those and I'll read the studies. So I use it as an advanced search engine. It's easier than Google because on Google, you have to know exactly what you're searching for. Whereas with Grok or with ChatGPT, you can just ask the question and it'll tell you, right? Or it sort of understands what you're looking for. So it will throw out the research. And then I'll also always ask, is there any research that disproves this? So I'll look at both sides, or I'll try, not always, because some of the things I know for a fact to be true. Like, for example, is farm murders a problem in South Africa? Yes. I don't need research that says it's really not a problem because I've already seen a lot of that research, and most of that fudges the numbers. So any of the papers that I've seen that say farm murders isn't a problem do the following. There's 27,000 murders in South Africa every single year, and less than 100 of them are farmers. And then it's like, yeah, but that's not how murder statistics work. Right? There's only 30,000 commercial farmers. There's 55 million normal South Africans, 60 million actually, normal South Africans. You're using statistics wrong. Right? So usually I don't do stuff like that. I can't even stand Tucker's voice now. So when it comes to Tucker Carlson, I watch everyone. I don't mind Tucker Carlson. There are things I don't like about Tucker Carlson. I genuinely think Tucker Carlson has he's fallen into the sort of mistake of being burnt by the government, and instead of realizing, you know what, they can lie, I should be more vigilant, he fell into the trap of they're lying about everything. And I say, well, that's not a rational position to take. The fact that they can lie doesn't mean that they're lying about everything. The fact that they can lie means that you have to be vigilant. That's the correct message to take from this. The other problem I have with Tucker Carlson is he seems to fall into this childish notion that all war is just evil always. That war is bad. And I say, wait, but war isn't always bad. Because that would mean that when the British were attacking the Germans during World War II, that would have made the Brits bad? No one would say that, right? The British were trying to stop a very evil regime. That's a just war. So there are such things as war is always bad in terms of human life being lost. That's always bad. But you do get righteous wars. And Tucker Carlson seems to believe in the world that could theoretically exist, where America remains the most powerful nation on earth, but it never interferes with any other country. That is thinking like a child. You're thinking like a child if you think that that's possible. If America stopped involving itself in the rest of the world would burn itself down and then would burn America down with it. America is the strongest country in the world. It is the world's superpower. It owes it to the world to play police state. Because other countries if you have problems in one country, those problems are going to have an impact on you. That's just how it works. At some point, those problems are going to impact you. So for example, I've heard people say America shouldn't have interfered in Venezuela. Well, the problems in Venezuela is interfering in America. The ANC wants America to stop interfering with South Africa because South Africa is a sovereign nation. It's like, well, the problems of the ANC and South Africa is starting to become a problem for America. Because South Africa appears to be involved in the international drug trade. South Africa appears to be involved in international crime syndicates. That's a problem for America. If you don't want America to involve itself in your problems, be an ally to America, not a problem. But the idea that America should just look at itself and never look at everyone else, it's like, that's not how it works. You're the world superpower. You have a responsibility to police the world so that your people remain safe. And by that, I don't mean you have a responsibility to the world. You don't. You have a responsibility to your people, right? It's your people that matter. It's the American people that matter. The rest of the world isn't what matters. But so very often, in order to keep the American people safe, you will have to look at the rest of the world and go, boys, enough. Stop. Enough. And then the world has to listen. And the world is a safer place when America actually involves itself. JM, how you doing? No, he props up Islam. Don't even. Oh, you're talking about... wait, does Tucker Carlson prop up Islam? I don't think I've ever heard him do that. I'm not saying he doesn't. I don't watch every single one of his podcasts. It's generally just... Like for a while ago, he had the guy from Y-Files on. Obviously, I watched that. Conspiracy theory, let's go. But I don't watch every single one of his shows. That's why isolationist countries always regret it later on. Science, the funny thing is, America has always actually been an isolationist country. America has actually never been a very sort of involved country. America's involvement has always been to protect America. And that just happens to also be good for the world. Right? So you are correct. You definitely don't want to be fully isolationist because that will bite you in the ass. But you also don't want to just involve yourself in everything. And I feel like after the Second World War, America started to become way too involved in the rest of the world. Whereas I think Donald Trump is going back to prior to the Second World War, where America really doesn't involve itself with the rest of the world, provided the world isn't going to cause problems for America. So America is sort of telling the rest of the world, look, if you play by the rules, and these are the rules, we'll let you leave. Right? You can have fun. Play as much as you want, provided you stay in the rules. You step out of these rules, and there's going to be hell to pay. And I think that's where it needs to be. He's been ignoring some of the glaring issues with it. Okay, that is a problem. If Tucker Carlson is actually defending Islam, that is a problem. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but there can be no peace with Islam. Any country that values freedom and that values democracy, as much as you can value democracy, and actually values human dignity, cannot be friends with Islam. It's impossible. Cannot be done. And by that, I don't mean individual Muslims cannot be that. I know plenty of individual Muslims who really aren't bad. They're really amazing people. They're awesome people. Here's the problem. Every single one of those awesome Muslims contribute their money to a mosque. And I would be willing to bet that 95% of mosques in the world sends their money to terrorist organizations. So yeah, even the nice Muslims are in some way, shape, or form supporting some form of jihad. Even if they don't know it themselves. They might not even know that that's what they're supporting. But remember, the world is divided, according to Islam, into only two places. The house of Islam and the house of war. That's all you can be. If you've been conquered by Islam, you fall into the house of Islam. If you have not been conquered by Islam yet, you fall into the house of war, which means you must be conquered. So from Islam's perspective, it does not view any country as just neutral. That doesn't exist. Xavier, how you doing, bro? You buy products with that halal logo on it, you contribute as well. Yeah, I no longer do that, CR. I'm very, very careful now. I don't buy halal products. I don't shop at stores. I'm very, very sort of just do what I do and support local. Support people that I know for a fact aren't contributing. Let's not forget the Arby's of halal logo on it. Oh, but the halal logo makes them so much money. It's insane. Coexist provided they leave each other alone, but that's wishful thinking at the moment. CCS, so the thing is, it's not necessarily even, it's not wrong, but it's also not always right. Countries can coexist if they leave each other alone. That's only true if both of those countries share the same value system. So would you make the argument that America and Iran can coexist provided that America and Iran leave each other alone? Because I sure as hell would say no. The problem with Iran is if you leave them alone, they'll just keep building nukes because they don't want to leave you alone. Right? So there's always going to be a point where you're going to have to involve yourself in some countries. And sometimes you're going to have to do tough love. Sometimes you're going to have to drop a couple of bombs and say, okay, boys, we're done playing. We're going to shoot you back to the Stone Age and then we'll see how it goes. That's just sometimes what you have to do. In their court, not the US. Let's give Tucker a bit of grace. We all have our blind spots and things we are not aware of. So, Sam, I'm not passing any judgment on Tucker, but I do think that it's interesting, right? The fact that he's cutting Islam as much slack as he is, and then I found out the other day that he now owns a home in Qatar. He seems to be very critical of the West, and yet he owns a home in Qatar. I don't know why. That just seems strange. But I still watch his content. I mean, I will continue to pray for him and hope that he finds the truth, whatever that truth is that he believes at the moment. I don't believe is the right truth or is the truth. So, yeah. You're 100% Stephen. Abuses and crime against humanity cannot just be condoned and left alone. All evil all evil needs is for good to do nothing. True. What is the story behind the halal sticker anyway? So, Kenzen, the halal sticker is probably one of the greatest money makers for Islam ever. So, Muslims aren't allowed to eat food that has not been purified. This is what they call halal food. So, the food has to be purified first. What they effectively do is they convince countries systematically. This usually happens when the population reaches around the 2% mark. They start to put a lot of political pressure and commercial pressure on shops to shift their goods to halal. In order to get the halal sticker on your food, you have to pay this organization X amount of money for that sticker. So for them to bless the food, it costs X amount of money. And then your food is suddenly declared halal, which means every single product that you buy with a halal sticker on it, you are actively sending money to ISIS, to Hezbollah, to Hamas, these terrorist organizations. You're actively supporting and supplying money to them. There are 1.2 million in South Africa, but everything has a bloody sticker on it. Yeah, but South Africa, the ANC is a Muslim organization, 100%. What about was about to mention halal products? Yeah. I'm glad to see so many of you guys are based and you know what's going on. But okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be the end of the stream. We've been here for about 2 hours and 15 minutes. It's been a fun one. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know very soon you're going to get Ronaldo Ghost going live and you're going to get Chris Colonel Wyatt probably going live as well. So, hopefully I'm leaving you guys in good hands. If I am not, I can only apologize. I will be back tomorrow. Again, same time, same place. But I'll again have the video on so that you guys know exactly when I'm going live. Hopefully there's some more, good news. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Hopefully there's good news. I would like some good news. Ronaldo Ghost, Matty. Ronaldo Ghost is a fellow South African content creator. Really good guy. You should go check him out if you haven't already. But okay, ladies and gentlemen, I truly appreciate all of you. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me, spending time with me, supporting me. I truly appreciate you guys. And also, thank you so much to everyone that's donating to the channel and supporting the channel by becoming members. Your support, I don't think you guys understand just how much that support means. Being able to know that I'm financially independent, so I don't have to chase trends. I don't have to chase the next big thing to get clicks. I can focus on the things that matter, right? The things that I believe is important to our country. And you guys that support this channel make that possible. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. And then, ladies and gentlemen, as always, have a wonderful evening. Be good to each other. Be kind to each other. To all of you that like every single video and share every single video and watch every single video, I love you from the bottom of my heart. That is literally all I could ask of you. Peace.